The fallout from the Department of Justice's massive document drop, it's continuing to grow, as you all know. We got ABC News talking about it. Every mainstream media outlet can't avoid it anymore. It's at this point, it's too big to ignore. It became too big to ignore right around the time that, I know when he killed himself, a bunch of people, they made memes about it. Sure, maybe like 45% of the population took it really seriously. A little bit from both sides, you know what I mean? Some of them were too normie to even really hear much about it. Some of them were just like, you know, all I'm trying to say is that it's unignorable now. Epstein is at the front of everybody's knowledge. If you knew about it from 2019, congratulations. If you knew about it even earlier than then, if you were a fan of Alex Jones and you knew about him even earlier than then, well, then you've been probably waiting for everybody to catch up, to the common knowledge, which, you got to give him credit. When he's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and just talk about everything that we are realizing with this. The release was intended to provide a lot of transparency under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but the sheer volume of data, it sparked a fresh wave of scrutiny. High-profile figures, they like names like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Peter Mandelson, they're all back in headlines right now. New details are emerging regarding their historical correspondence and interactions with the late financier. They have maintained they were never involved or aware of any of his criminal activities, which, guys, I don't want to make this a Jewish thing, and let's not try to do that. Let's make this just about the people who appear in these files, many of which just so happen to be Jewish or serve the World Jewish Congress directly in some minor way or whatever. There's just a lot of things that just maybe connect, this community for some odd reason. And listen, I'm not saying anything about Jews as a whole. That's not what this is about. I'm saying it is an odd coincidence that the majority of the people that are coming out of these files that are showing to have had these back and forth correspondences with Jeffrey Epstein, referring to the rest of non-Jews as Goyim. It's a very, very, that seems like the more racist thing here, to not call out the emails where they are referring to everyone who is not Jewish as another term. That seems like the real racism here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go past a couple of the key figures that we've already discovered. Here's a couple of the political, legal, diplomatic figures that we've discovered. Ehud Barak, if you don't know, former Israeli prime minister. Records show dozens of visits to Epstein's Manhattan residence and traveled on his private jet routinely. Alan Dershowitz, if you are a 90s, 80s baby, you know what I mean? That's probably a name that a lot of you know. He's a high-profile attorney, frequently mentioned in flight logs and legal depositions. He remains one of the most vocal figures contesting the narrative around the unsealed files. Kathy Ruemmler, former White House counsel, files reveal over 30 scheduled meetings with Epstein after she left the Obama administration, primarily regarding the legal and business networking that she had. Interesting enough, Stuart Eisenstadt, former U.S. ambassador to the EU, mentioned in the emails regarding invitations to social gatherings. Michael Steinhardt, billionaire philanthropist and co-founder of Birthright Israel, his name appears in contact lists and social logs. Dan Senor, Senor. He's a political advisor and author of Startup Nation. He's mentioned in correspondences regarding networking dinners. And then Joshua Bolton, he's a former White House chief of staff. He's mentioned in scheduling logs for a lot of social events. There's obviously a lot of business, finance, and tech people we have. Leslie Wexner, as if you don't know him, Les Wexner. He's the founder of L Brands. He has a lot of ties to, if you don't know, Victoria's Secret, right? Am I going to need to check my facts around this? Wexner... Victoria's Secret. Yes, exactly. He's connected to Victoria's Secret. He's high up in the business place. He was Epstein's primary benefactor for decades. He gave him a house. That's the most interesting thing. He granted him power of attorney and a lot of significant assets throughout their entire friendship. Whatever, he just so happened to be leading a woman's fashion brand. That's chill. Glenn Dubin and Eva Anderson Dubin, they're a hedge fund billionaire and his wife. The Dubbins were close social associates. Eva, a physician, reportedly maintained a long-term friendship with Epstein. Ariane de Rothschild, does that sound familiar? Chair of the Edmund de Rothschild's group. Details in the email show her coordinating business meetings and purchasing items for Epstein. Leon Black, co-founder of the Apollo Global Management. He paid Epstein $158 million for tax and estate planning services between 2012 and 2017. Jeff Blau, Blau as in B-L-A-U, he's the CEO of related companies. He's mentioned in calendars regarding real estate discussions and social meetings. Mortimer Zuckerman, he's a media mogul and a real estate billionaire. His name appears in flight logs and contact lists. Sergey Brin, he's a Google co-founder. He's mentioned in documents related to Epstein's attempts to advise JP Morgan on high net worth clients. Bill Ackman, that is a very familiar name. He's a hedge fund manager. He's mentioned multiple times in emails regarding a meeting at MIT involving Joy Ito. Joy as in J-O-I, Ito, I-T-O. That's clearly, I believe, a Japanese name. Rodney Ahrens, A-H-R-E-N-S. I apologize if I'm struggling with some of these names. Hedge fund manager, former associate of Epstein. Academics, scientists, intellectuals. We got another list of them. Noam Chomsky, if you don't know this individual, renowned academic. Files show that he met with Epstein to discuss various political and academic projects. Leon Botstein, he's a president of Bard College, scheduled numerous meetings to solicit donations for the arts and education. Marvin Minsky, MIT scientist, he's mentioned in Virginia Giuffre, we pronounce it that way on this show. He was a frequent guest of Epstein's science conferences, which, you know, I don't know if there were midgets doing math for Stephen Hawking. We can't guarantee any of that. Lawrence Krauss, he's a physicist, frequent traveler on Epstein's jet and participant in many of the sponsored science retreats. Larry Summers, he's a former Harvard president. Emails show... God, you have to forgive me. I'm talking so much, I just need a minute. I'm going to drink some water for a second. All right, Larry Summers, former president of Harvard. I mean, very curious. Emails show a persistent social and professional link, including requests for Epstein to help his wife's nonprofit. Very curious. Martin Nowak, a Harvard math professor, received significant funding from Epstein and was a frequent contact. Seth Lloyd, MIT professor, accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from Epstein and visited him in prison, interestingly enough. Gerald Edelman, Nobel Prize winning biologist, mentioned as a contact for various scientific, agencies and shit. Media and entertainment and arts, Woody Allen, we don't even have to say it, director. He was frequently cited on the flight logs and the dinner guest list in New York. David Copperfield, magician, as you all know, goofy guy, made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Your parents can tell you about him. Harvey Weinstein, he's a disgraced film mogul, as you all are familiar with. Steve Tisch, he was the film producer and New York Giants co-owner. He is included having this weird correspondence where he's like, oh, is it a working girl? Oh, interesting. Peggy Seigel, legendary Hollywood publicist, she admitted to helping Epstein re-enter social circles following his 2008 conviction. Itzhak Perlman, a world-renowned violinist, is mentioned in logs regarding invitations to social and charitable functions. Ladies and gentlemen, and these people all happen to be Jewish. It's just a bizarre coincidence. It's a really strange thing that all this happens. I'm just going to give my voice a break, and let's watch this clip from ABC News.
And the chairman of a prominent law firm is stepping down over his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss law chair Brad Karp says in a statement, quote, recent reporting has created a distraction and has placed a focus on me that's not in the best interest of the firm. The firm says Karp will remain with the firm, just in a different role. Senior Washington reporter Will Staken is here for more. Hi, Will. So what's the latest on this growing list of prominent people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files?
It's all fake.
Yeah, Diane, well, I think, Mr. Karp right here is kind of the latest fallout from these Epstein files. Like you said, the really powerful law firm Paul Weiss announced that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name appeared in these files. Now, the law firm did not give a reason why Mr. Karp is stepping down, and previously the law firm denied Mr. Karp had any wrongdoing, but with this release of these files, his name appears in the files, mostly with his assistant trying to schedule meetings with Mr. Epstein, but there's an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking about if he could help get his son some kind of job in an upcoming Woody Allen film. So I think these emails, obviously are continuing to fall out across, widespread industries. It's kind of the latest fallout here. We saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peter Attia also stepped down from his role at the protein company.
Peter Attia, no.
So what are you watching for next?
Yeah, I think next, obviously I think the focus should be on the victims here and what happens there. If there's new revelations that come out, there's still, millions of files. We have an incredible team here that's continuing to go through them. But I also think we're going to have to look at the political file. The president clearly wants to move on. He said that repeatedly. He thinks this is over. But there's people in his base, in the MAGA base, who are not satisfied. They want prosecutions. And obviously what we're seeing now...
I don't think it's just the MAGA base, guys. Let's be honest here. A lot of people are going to call you crazy if you bring up any facts. They're going to go, no, it was just a coincidence. Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, confirmed Mossad agent. If you don't know anything about Robert Maxwell, you should really look into him. He owned one of the biggest papers in the UK for the longest time. Died on a yacht, allegedly had a heart attack, fell off the edge. Weird. It's just a coincidence that Jeffrey Epstein received a hero's honor in Israel. He had a Mossad agent living in his house for weeks. He had direct contact with Israeli operatives. We can prove it. And Americans, good goys, little-minded people will look at you. They'll tell you you're insane for questioning the billionaire Zionist propaganda, which is a lot of this, unfortunately. This is only because the majority of your parents' generation, their parents, and whatnot, they've been Holocaust-pilled. The idea is you can never question groups that may practice Jewish supremacy the way that you may question white supremacist groups. Because any mention of organized Jewry may eventually slippery slope argument, another Holocaust. This is why you can never try to discuss this meaningfully with, any older generations in the sense where if you are becoming aware of all of this sort of stuff, you could try to communicate this to your parents' generation or maybe your grandparents' generation. There's going to be a level, they'll think at a certain point you've gone too far left or right. They'll be like, oh, you're a free Palestine person, you want all the Jews to die, or they're going to be like, you're a Nazi and you want all the Jews to die. When really you're just trying to talk about organized groups that are practicing supremacy, where if they believe they are supreme to you and every other person, they believe that you should be in their words, in their own emails, a servant class, and it's just a very curious reaction to give. Any pushback, by the way, you get from this, that you're engaging in anti-Semitism just for reading files that they never will and saying the truth out loud. Any pushback you get from them, from telling these people the truth, is their good goy programming coming out to shoot you down. It's deep, guys. It's in the public school system. It's been in the books since it started coming out after the war. It's not wrong to say that the Jews have been persecuted. It's not wrong to say that meaningfully over a long period of time. 109 countries banned from a lot of them. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, they have absolutely been an oppressed group. What that can result in is certain dialects, certain versions, certain diasporas, certain people that belong to the community, believing, actually, no, we belong to the most, we have the most Nobel Prizes. We are, per capita, the smartest people. Ashkenazi Jews, per capita, always rank with the highest IQs. That can lead to a feeling of supremacy, where eventually, if you get an organized system, Jeffrey Epstein, very high up there Jew, you can get people that have a commonality where they go, hey, we are serving our own, we are serving our people. Jeffrey Epstein said, only hire Jews if you want good bankers. That's what he said. That's his emails. And what I'm trying to say is, this is not an indictment of all Jewish people. This is not an anti-Semitic rant. This is not anything like that. This is meaningfully looking at the documents that a lot of people will never read. They will never look at any of these emails. They will tell you that, Jeffrey Epstein was a creepy billionaire, Bruce Wayne type, who bought a bunch of girls and had sex with them, and then that's it. That's the end of the story, end of it. That's it. That's all that they will tell you. And what I'm trying to say is, try to expand their mind a teensy bit more. Maybe if people, are questioning you a little bit, you can show them videos like this regarding Epstein's, quote unquote, baby farm that is alleged to have existed. And if you if you want to show them, you can show them his ranch that he had, or you can show them this video that I will link in the description.
So this is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read in my life, and it raises the question, was Jeffrey Epstein impregnating young children in order to force them to have kids that would then be brought into the world of sex trafficking and pedophile rings from a newborn, or I should say from the age of newborn, or whatever you'd say. So these are screenshots from a journal of one of Epstein's victims, and the girl talks a lot in coded language. As you can see here, this is kind of how she wrote, and she writes in these journals, but it's a pretty easy code to decipher. I deciphered a bunch of these pages. But the really disturbing thing throughout these journals is that she talks about multiple perpetrators. She names perpetrator, like the executives at AOL, Leon Black, a good friend of Epstein's. There are many more too. But this girl constantly talks about death, about murder, about her babies being taken away from her, about her being forced into these traumatic procedures that were extremely gruesome and bloody. There are also pictures of what I can assume are potentially her babies,
like sonograms.
And yeah, I mean, you can pause and read all of these pages. There are so many of them. I just spent the last hour reading through these journals for a video that I'm producing on my channel, and I was on the verge of tears throughout most of it. I mean, it's really, this is horrific stuff. Some of the pages she has drawn to and splattered with ink like this, or like this with some of her code. Here are some of the pages translated, though. Tomorrow is the halfway ultrasound for Jeffrey. This one stuck. After they took the first baby who survived in the early miscarriage, I think it was called, I no longer feel like a person but a vessel. Will they take this one too? Who has the first one? Where did Ghislaine go? I can't let myself get attached. My body feels so tired. Will I ever be free? So then in another page of coded writing, she writes, I am such a monster. I didn't console her. I can't unhear her screams. They haunt me. I couldn't even bring myself to look at her. I am a monster. I deserve to be haunted by her screams. I am so sorry. I am so broken. Another page here, she describes the doctor who was from Israel, and she describes the procedure. This was different, a shot, and those rod-like things had a hook and so much pain. Blood and water all over the bed, and she was wrecked, like a feeling when your tummy hurts and you have to push. I saw her fingers, this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached its tiny arm up and had a tiny foot. I closed my eyes and no more. No more cries. I don't understand. Just say these things happen. They yelled and screamed, and he said it will be the same in a couple of months. I don't understand what is going on. I can't go to school like this. I can't stop shaking. Yeah, so to me it sounds like this girl was being impregnated over and over again, starting at the age of probably 13 or 14, and then when she was having these babies, they were being taken from her and immediately brought into the world of a pedophile ring or sex trafficking organization. There are so many things in these journals that are so twisted. Let me know if you want me to talk more about these.
Yes, I'd love for you to talk more about them. I'd love for people to talk more about this in general. People need to talk about the fact that he had a trap door that apparently led to the ocean in Epstein's mansion. This is real. This is a photo that you can look up for yourself. I'll leave it in the description. Once again, I won't play the video for you because you won't get the visual reference, but it's literally just an open chasm that it's down in and it looks like submarine access potentially, but who knows? No one really knows. But one thing that I do know is that well-known people that I'm not gonna say what faith he belongs to, but individuals like Ben Shapiro have said things like his loyalty to America is hinged on its defense and support of Israel. Like, let me be honest. I expected him to be a little more level-headed. I expected him to have a good take on this, and everything that I heard from his mouth on this latest episode of his was goy slop. It was unfortunately something just to put the masses at ease. Let's listen to it ourselves.
A lot of people are looking for the connection between the Jeffrey Epstein story, the saga, the details that are now coming out, and what that means about, quote-unquote, who runs our world. Now, there are a lot of very powerful people whose names have been mentioned in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
All my friends.
People who are hanging out, hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein. People who are asking dating advice, like Lauren Summers, former president of Harvard. Or people who are apparently soliciting visits to Epstein parties, or whom Epstein was soliciting to go to his parties, including people like Elon Musk. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein was friendly with Bill Clinton. There was a time early on in his life, earlier, when he was friendly with Donald Trump. All of that is true. Now, the leap that some people are making is that this means that Epstein was manipulating all of these powerful people through blackmail with regard to sex. That is not in evidence. If that
is not
turns out to
evidence.
be in evidence, then we'll happily report on it. That is not what so far has come out. And the reason I'm making this distinction is because it is, in fact, a deeply important thing that some of the most powerful people in our society act in morally depraved ways.
You know what this is? This is Israel defend. Israel is good for America. Israel helps keeps us safe. Israel is the reason that your children can go to school. Israel is the, knock it off.
Godless,
Jesus.
virtue-free ways, hanging out with some of the worst people in our society, people they know to be trafficking in women who are very, very young, if not in minors. When it comes to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, what was criminally indicted was the trafficking of underage girls for Epstein's own use. There have yet to be legally verifiable allegations that girls who are underage were trafficked to people who are not Jeffrey Epstein or by Ghislaine Maxwell to people not Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein files, there are none. There's no credible.
The Epstein files, there are none. A very famous clip from his. I do think it is very bizarre that when you, this is another just bizarre coincidence, that Savannah Guthrie's mom is missing and whatnot. Is it possibly related to the fact that Savannah Guthrie is mentioned in the files? I don't know. That is very curious. If you don't know about that, this might be like a distraction or something like that. But they mention literally her one of her interviews that she's had.
So it's not a coincidence that Savannah Guthrie interviewed Virginia Giuffre and other Epstein victims. Her mom has gone missing, and she's in the Epstein drop, the recent one. Yeah, they were watching her. She's mentioned 9 times. Savannah's interview with victims is mentioned multiple times in the Epstein files. Here we read she's done another interview with blank. And my guess this redacted blank over here is Virginia Giuffre, who allegedly committed suicide. Plan to air it on the Today Show and Friday's Dateline. And here is that Dateline interview with Virginia Giuffre conducted by Savannah. And Savannah's mom goes missing 2 days after these files drop. It's now being reported that Savannah Guthrie's mom's pacemaker stopped syncing with her Apple Watch. Back to the email. It says, she said the following. She said she was interviewed by FBI in 2011 by a redacted name. In the interview, she gave the names of all the girls she helped to traffic. She was also interviewed by SDNY. And 3, 2 other women also tell DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to, quote, other men. There are cameras in the NYC house and others where he could watch people in bathrooms and elsewhere. Heart goes out to Savannah. I can't imagine what she's going through. Signs of forced entry and kidnapping have been reported. Reward is being offered for info leading to an arrest.
Yeah. I think that has anything to do with the fact that her mother is missing? Maybe. Is it worth investigating? Probably. You know what I think is just bizarre? That people don't want to talk about this because I think in general people are taken in by what many would call goy slop, unfortunately. David Stern, if that name doesn't sound very familiar with you, that's probably a good thing. It shouldn't, actually. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't know who David Stern is. You shouldn't be familiar with his product. You shouldn't be familiar with any of it. And if you just recognize it based on the name, that's not a good sign. It means that you're deep in the goy slop. Like, it's not good. He's the former commissioner, if you don't know, of the NBA from 1984 to 2014. And yes, happens to be a Jew, but that's okay. No, chill. I have no issue. That's I wouldn't have an issue with that alone, but I have an issue with this. He referred to all NBA fans as Goyim in his emails to Jeffrey Epstein. That personally bothers me a little bit. Stern was commissioner of the NBA for 30 years, and every one of you tuning in is logging in for your daily dose of sit on the couch, get fat, eat your goy slop, watch your goy slop, and don't accomplish anything. Don't engage in arts or creativity. Don't build anything. Don't research. Don't create anything that may outlast you. Just sit, consume, and be a good goy who heads to work every day, who is having your internal fire quenched through meaningless filth like former gangbangers tossing around a ball or wife beaters running in a touchdown. And then, ignore the fact that the people who own the teams, your heroes, not really your heroes, maybe you don't even know them either. The New York Giants co-owner, Stephen Titch, is sending emails arranging women for him to meet back in 2013. Guys, This is the start of the start. We are only just beginning. Wait until you get into the emails where Jeffrey Epstein discusses giving people supernatural abilities through psychological stress, cloning people. He even discusses the designer babies that we talked about a few episodes back that I believe he's referencing, manufacturing the perfect baby through DNA splicing. He discusses something involving patients experiencing something called stage 3. These are people apparently developing an entirely new perspective of reality and quote unquote discovering gifts that they never knew that they have. Someone named Brian Bishop emailed Jeffrey detailing over quote the use of funds spreadsheet for the designer baby and human cloning company. Quote, this gets us out of the self-funded garage biology phase and the first live birth of a human designer baby and possibly of a human clone within 5 years. Newly available to support my final theory here is that he was an operative for some agency is the photo. I would love to provide this photo in the description for you, and I believe that I can find a way to. It's Jeffrey in the recent triage of documents wearing an IDF sweatshirt. And if you don't know what the IDF is, what is the IDF, good little Goy? It is the Israeli Defense Force, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to be as kind as I am as I can be when I say it. There is a form of a world Jewish mafia that is acting under the cover of Mossad, the Israeli government. Listen, the way that that Italian mafias operated and took over New York, there is a level to a degree now. It's proven. It's in the documents. It's there. There is a level of control that has always been exercised over every individual of the Western world, it seems, with either the price gouging, the world banks, everything involving those. And unfortunately, it's rich people in general you can blame it as. Yes, it is. You can call it rich people. It's white people doing this, black people doing this, every one of them. Asians are great at it. We've already proven that with a lot of the schemes that we've covered on this show. But what we're saying here is, it is not at all anti-Semitic. It is not at all in any way calling for a new Holocaust. To just simply say there is clearly a web of Jewish supremacy underneath all of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff that is networked throughout every leverage of power, everywhere in the media, everywhere in the finance industry, in the business world. There is something there that unfortunately conspiracy theorists have been trying to tell us this whole time, and a lot of people weren't waking up to it. And unfortunately, I didn't. Does anybody want this to be the case? Does anybody sit on their couch and go like, yeah, I was right the whole time. Yeah, I want it to be the fucking global elitist pedophiles. I want it to be... No one is thinking this. And a lot of people are thinking, they're going, I bet the conspiracy theorists feel great right now. No, they're living in the same world as you. They still have to go to work. They still have to get woken up by an alarm every morning. They still have to get dressed. They still have to pack a lunch. They still have to get in a car. They still have to go to work. They still have to do the motions to serve people who always will have more money than them. That is just a fact of life at this point. That is where we are in the world. And we have to appreciate where listen, the sun rose this morning and I had a great cup of coffee and life is still beautiful. We are alive and the world is still, it's at our feet. That is the beauty we cannot forget, that life is beautiful and it's fucking there and we got to get it. We just got to take it. But what we have to realize is, yes, people aren't crazy for saying that there's greater leverages of power, and maybe they're not so crazy. Maybe they're not so crazy when they're out there on Reddit, 4chan, the deep corners of the internet, saying that there is a cabal of baby eaters. At this point, maybe there is, and we just got to believe it. I'm sorry this is the case. I'm sorry that this is what the files say. I'm sorry this is the truth. It's the truth. It's facts. We only deal in facts here. Except for when I want to have fun, ladies and gentlemen.